So, a woman is traveling north at 10 kilometers an hour, finds that the wind appears to blow from the west. When the woman travels her speed, so that's the end of scenario 1. Scenario 1 is in yellow. When the woman trebles her speed, that's BIV, the wind appears to blow from the northwest. Find the velocity of the wind. Okay. So, just a quick key thing about a couple of things. I'm gonna relabel the woman as a girl or a person. Okay, so I'll just say G equals the woman and W equals the wind. So I'm just going to relabel her a girl for the sake of the question, okay? Then at the very end of the question I can relabel her the woman. Now, what is going on, alright? So phi G, velocity of the girl is 10. 10 what? 10J, 10I? 10J. Okay? Now, the velocity, am I going to use phi WG or phi GW? Sorry? Phi WG. Now, this is a very language specific question, okay? Phi WG means the velocity of the wind relative to the girl. Relative to the girl is everything, because it's the girl who's experiencing it. While phi GW is the velocity of the girl relative to the wind. The wind hasn't got an opinion on how fast the girl's going. So you're talking about phi WG here. Okay? So, because the wind can't tell, it's from the girl's perspective how fast the wind is going. As an example, you're going straight up against a wind that's going straight down. So the wind is going this direction at 5, you're traveling at 15. Okay? Your actual speed to an observer looking at you, what is your actual speed? This one is velocity of the person. We're talking about the wind here. Okay, so technically speaking, alright, this is the key difference between the medium question and the wind appears question, okay? The trick is, do you know when she's traveling north at 10? Yeah? That's against the wind, everything's included. She's actually traveling this fast, regardless of the wind's influence. It's not like the last question where you can swim it in still water, or you can fly in still air, and you actually have to include the air's impact on your velocity. In this question here, what happens is you're traveling 15 no matter what happens, or you're traveling 10 no matter what happens, okay? Do you remember we said it's the wind relative to the girl? We're actually more talking about what happens to the wind, okay? So, as an example, the wind is blowing 10 kilometers an hour, and you're a stationary person. The wind, you can say, is blowing 10 kilometers south. Everybody cool with that? Yeah? You then start traveling upwards at 15 kilometers an hour yourself. How fast is the wind going relative to the girl this time? 25. The girl experiences a 25 kilometer an hour wind. Is that alright? So that's the way this question works. That's why the letters are reversed in comparison to the last question. Because it's the wind, it's how the wind is affected by a person's motion. Okay? It's not how the person's motion is affected by the wind. Okay? So that's why the letters are reversed, and that's why the system is different. Okay. So, starting off relatively easy. The whole goal of the question is to find what? What's the whole goal of the question? The actual velocity of the wind. What is the wind compared to a still person? Somebody that's not moving whatsoever. That's the goal of the question. So, we're going to denote the velocity of the wind as AI plus BJ. We don't know anything about it. Let's give it a vector. Okay? Now, velocity of the wind relative to the girl. What can you tell us about that one? What can you tell us? It's coming from where? It's blowing from the west. If you're blowing from the west, what direction are you going? Sorry? You're going east. If you're coming from the west, you're going east. Just so we're back with it, okay? So if you're coming from here, you're actually going east. Now, east is a positive J or a positive I? I component or J component? I. Do we know how fast we're going in the I direction? No, that's how fast the girl is travelling. Do we know how fast we're going in the I direction? No. So what do we need to do? We need to make up a letter that we haven't already used. So call that XI. Now let's go to scenario B before we do anything else. So scenario B, cut it right down the middle. What's the velocity of the girl in the second scenario? Anybody? Second scenario? 30 J. She trebled her speed going directly upwards. What's the velocity of the wind? Say it's the same. It's the same wind. She only the girl changes speed. The wind is constant throughout, so it's still AI plus BJ. Okay. Now, the wind appears to blow from northwest. When you're northwest, you're up here. What direction are you actually going? Anybody? You're traveling southeast. A southeast is a positive I and a negative J. You happy with that? Now, do I know how? What you know about 45-degree angles? When you're going 45 degrees in this direction, what can you guarantee me about the green line versus the red line? They're equal because it's an isosceles triangle. So for argument's sake, why don't I call this y, yi, and minus yj? Why is it minus yj? Well, technically it's yj, but it's going downwards. So when I enter it into my speed, what will it be? Huh? It will be yi because it's positive it's going to the right, and then minus yj because it's going down. So technically speaking, it's going in this direction here. This one's going north. This one we haven't got a clue where it's coming from. This one we're going north, and this one's going east. Yes, Adam? Oh, because that's the wind's velocity. This part here. That part there. Because it's still the velocity, it's still the same woman. It's only scenario A and scenario B. Oh, sorry, why am I using Y and Y? Because in this particular case it's a 45-degree angle, which means that both components are equal to each other. If it wasn't a 45-degree angle, I'd use two different letters. Everybody alright with that? Now, what's happening next is we're going to find out what the velocity of the wind is in both cases. So, phi wg is what, guys? Phi w minus phi g. Therefore, velocity of wind equals phi gw plus phi g. That works for both questions. Okay. Now that we've done that, what can we do next? Just put in our numbers and see what happens. Okay. So in the first one, we're going to get that the velocity of the wind equals phi gw, which is 10, what's it, xi. Oh, sorry, phi wg, you're right about that. Velocity of wind relative to the girl, not the girl relative to the wind. It's the change of wind, not the change in the girl. Okay, and plus phi g plus 10j, yeah? Now what information can we get from that? What can we replace phi w with? Phi w is AI plus bj. So what does that mean B is? B is equal to 10. Do you see that? The J components match up. So I can find that B equals 10 right away. Can't do anything for the X part, but I can find that. I can find one half of my answer, which is great. So B equals 10. I go to scenario B. I line up the same way. Velocity of wind equals VWG, which is YI minus YJ, and that in turn equals what would that equal? YI minus YJ, and then I have to add on the velocity of the girl, which is 30J. Velocity of the wind is therefore YI plus 30 minus Y times J. Now, what can we tell us about velocity of wind this time? Velocity of wind is velocity of wind is AI. And what's BJ now? Anybody? It is 10J. So it's 10J. What does that mean for the 30 minus Y? The 30 minus Y equals 10. So what does that mean Y equals? Y equals 20. What does that mean A equals? A equals 20. Okay? So this means that the velocity of the wind is 20I plus 10J. Reread the language of the question. It just wants me to find the velocity of the wind. It doesn't specify anything about where it's coming from, what angle it's making, or how fast it's going. So my question's done.